y'all, this is Val here with another Epic 7 video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at Arbiter Vildred. We'll look at his skills, his stats, his gear including artifact, and also talk about where he can be used. Let's jump right into the review by taking a look at his skills. Skill 1, Sweep. Acquire 1 focus, acquire 1 soul. Rapidly attacks 2 enemies with a sword storm, increasing their combat readiness by 12%. You can see here that this can be skilled up 6 times. You can pick up a total of 5% additional combat readiness and 30% additional damage dealt. This brings it to 17% combat readiness reduction. Now, like his other skills, this skill was recently buffed. It used to do more damage to lower his health, but that component has been removed and it now does an additional 30% damage. However, keep in mind, the skill multiplier for S1 and S3 was not changed, so you still do need a fairly fat Arbiter Vildred to do good damage. Let's move on to skill 2, his passive, Dark Contract, which is on a 5-turn cooldown. After receiving lethal damage, caster regenerates to 70% health, 100% combat readiness, increased attack for 2 turns, full focus, and reset cooldown for Dark Blade. You can see here that you can skill this up a total of 3 times, each time adding an additional 30% health to Resurrection, bringing it to a total of 100% health. Like his other skills, this one was also updated recently to add the 100% combat readiness. Lastly, his skill 3, Dark Blade. Acquire 1 focus, acquire 3 souls. It's on a 5-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies, decreasing hit chance for 2 turns. When focus is full, consumes it all, increasing damage dealt. When the enemy is defeated with this skill, cooldown does not occur. The soul burn effect for 10 souls increases damage dealt. As you can see, you can skill enhance this 6 times. Each enhance adds damage dealt for a total of 45% additional damage. Now, when talking about these skills and which one to skill up first, the best one to skill up first is going to be Dark Blade. This will be your primary bread and butter if you so choose to use them as a farmer or in arena. Now, you can see here that I did start investing into skill 1. The reason why is for arena and for farming purposes. In arena, I've recently run into very tanky Angelicas who do not die from the second onslaught using S3. Those Angelicas have been able to outlast me and I died to lightning. I'm hoping by increasing the damage here and skilling it up, which also increases the combat readiness reduction, that should that happen, they will no longer be an issue. For skill 2, which is the passive Dark Contract, I am also looking to max that. That one, however, is 100% for PvP. I have recently come across very tanky balls who do not die from the first onslaught. Because they do not die and skill 2 is available, they will cut Vildred. When they cut Vildred, even though their health is low, they will use skill 3. Now, skill 3 so far has not killed, even on crit, but it has been very close. To prevent this from happening, I am looking to go ahead and max this passive, so that way I come back with 100% health, thus no longer fearing the ML balls in S3. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Dark Blade is your bread and butter, and definitely obtain all 6 enhancement levels. Now, let's take a look at his skills. Here you can see my skills. I do recommend 4K attack. This 3971 bugs me to no end. I leveled everything I could, and I just could not get to 4K, but you do want to hit that goal. The defense, you don't have to focus on so much. Health, you do want to focus on, for reasons that I mentioned with the ML ball. If you can, I would recommend at least 10k health. If not, 9500 should suffice. Speed can go either way depending on how you plan on using your Arbiter Vildred. For me, I have Ox Lots, so I just need my Vildred to be very fat in regards to damage. So for me, speed is not an issue because I focus on Ox Lots to get turn 1 to then give the turn to Arbiter Vildred. However, if you plan on using this in a standard cleave comp that uses either Rused, Shuri, Rose, or any other combat readiness buffers, then you do want to make sure that Arbiter Vildred is speed tuned accordingly for your team. Next is crit chance. I am a big fan of 100% crit for units that are absolutely vital that I have do major damage, Arbiter Vildred being one of those. Lastly is critical hit damage. You do at least want to obtain 250% critical damage. Anything over that is going to be gravy, but that's kind of the bar that's been set you want to reach with him. This is because, remember, his multipliers were not changed, only his damage. Now, as far as effectiveness and effect resistance goes, you really don't need to focus on those two stats at all. So with looking at the stats, let's take a look at the gear that got me there. Now, if I'm going too fast through the gear, please feel free to pause the video on a piece you would like to see more of. Okay, so let's talk about the gear I used. Again, because I want for maximum damage, attack was really the only option for me. You can see I did go broken set because, again, I had already gotten 100% crit, so I really wasn't worried about the secondary offset. And since there's no offset that also adds attack, I just went with whatever got me the highest attack, crit damage, and crit chance. It ended up in this case being defense and crit chance. So it really doesn't matter if you are building it and you're using the oxlots as long as you reach the stat goals that you want. Broken or any offset that gets you there really is a perfectly valid option. So when we look at our percentile slots, you see that I did go with critical hit chance, and that is because, like I said, I am 100% into, I have to have 100% crit on a unit that's just vital to me. It's been my experience, if I go 80 or 90%, it never crits when I need it to unless I'm fighting an ML Kin. Then, of course, with 5% crit, I'm going to crit him every time. But that situation aside, any other situation, it's not going to crit at 80 or 90%. Now, there may be some of you out there that are okay with 80 to 90. If so, don't go with the crit chance necklace. You want to go with a crit damage necklace. My ultimate plan is to get 100% crit chance in subs and replace this with the crit damage necklace, hopefully pushing me over 300% crit damage. That is my ultimate goal with this. Now, for your other two slots, for me, the only option was attack and attack. However, keep in mind, if you are not running this with an oxlots or you had really bad speed rolls on your gear, then you do want to make sure that he is speed tuned appropriately to your cleave team. While these stats work for me, they may not work for you. Make sure you're checking the speed of all your units. In a typical cleave team, you want your combat readiness buffer to go first, your attack buffer to go next, your AoE armor break, and then your cleaver. Your situation may vary, so just make sure you're paying special attention to the speed stat. It may be that you do need to go with speed boots in certain situations if you are not able to get enough speed within substats. Now, artifact is an interesting one. You have several different options that you can go with. I'll go over the two that I think are valid, as well as two that you can use, but I don't think brings much value to his kit. Now, the first one, the one that I went with and I think is the better option here, is Portrait. Now, there is a downside to Portrait. If you read the text here, Portrait increases damage dealt by 20% if the enemy's health is more than 50%. Now, what this means is when my Oxlots gives him turn 1, I will have the full benefit of this 20%. However, due to how hard my particular Vildred hits, this will likely reduce all units minus the very tanky Angelica to under 50%, meaning that on the second volley, when I use S3, if there is a second S3, that means that I will not take advantage of this except for on the Angelica, which will likely not be enough to finish her off. So there is a downside to it. Now, the other artifact that works would be RNL. Now, the reason why RNL works is you go in, you S3, you proc again, and likely because you've already killed something, S3 is immediately available. This can allow you to wipe the board multiple times if they have a Resurrector, or if they're fairly tanky, but you just needed that little bit extra to kill them. Now, the problem with RNL is it's not consistent. It may proc, it may not proc. I myself don't like leaving too many things for chance. There's already an inherent element of chance in it. So I went with Portrait for consistent damage, at least on the first attack. Now, the two others I considered, but don't think that they're worth adding to the kit, would be Elia's knife. Now, Elia's knife is interesting as that it's a reverse portrait. So basically, Elia's knife requires that all they have to be is at not full health to work. That's it. There's no percentile measure for that. The problem with that is on the first wave, they are going to be at 100%, meaning that that will not apply, so you will not get ignore defense damage. However, on the second S3 or S1 attack, depending on how your match goes, it will apply its effect fully. However, it can be that there are critical units that need to die first in that initial volley, and if they don't, they could really throw a monkey wrench into your plans. Units like Dizzy, like Aura, and like ML Ball can cause serious problems if they are not dealt with. The other artifact that I considered was Dust Devil, but considering you really want to focus on S3 in Arena, it really wasn't a choice. Now, you can use it if you primarily use your Vildred as a farmer, because when you do get to bosses, you will likely not be able to one-shot with your X3, so the Dust Devil will proc and it'll allow you to kill with your S1. But because it's more PvE focused and it's not dual, and I don't recommend switching artifacts for different uses, I've finally settled on Portrait being the best option. However, your mileage may vary. RNL may work better for you, or Elia's knife. So we've talked about his skills, we talked about his stats and his gear. Let's talk about where to use him. The easy one, super easy, is Arena Defense. You have him, you have C-Arm, and you have Fat Cat. Just on those 3 units, people will likely skip over you. I know I would skip over you just because it's too much of a pain dealing with it. I could miss. Armin could be max passive. It's just there's too much RNG in there that I prefer not to have to deal with. So, Arena Defense, easy. Use him there. He's great. Build him accordingly. He won't let you down. Now, Arena Offense, he can also be used. We talked earlier about the type of offensive cleave teams to use him in. You've got your Oxlots, where you build him slow and very fat on attack and crit damage. Or you can go the standard cleave team way and build him, speed tune him to the appropriate speed for your team. Now, if you do go that way, you do want to avoid Gerardo and ML Ball teams, because Gerardo, as soon as you buff, you're going to be in trouble. And with ML Ball, every turn you take, he's going to gain 25% combat readiness. Now, lastly, it is as a farmer. He works as a farmer because his S3 will one-shot, thus resetting the cooldown, allowing you to one-shot all the waves, typically minus the boss wave. That's why it's still good to go ahead and invest in your S1. I do recommend plus 15 for him because all of his skills are worth it and will help him in every facet of the game that you use him in. Alright, all that's going to do it for this review. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if you notice something I missed and you just want to share those comments with me, please leave that down below. As always, thank you all for watching, and all you dudes and dudettes out there, stay frosty.